Well guys, welcome to Piccadilly Gardens. Another Palestine march, or should I say Palestine Action Terrorist March, which is what they are now. Officially a terrorist group. So let's go and have a wander about.
This is for Palestine, Ramallah, West Bank, Gaza. This is for the child that is searching for an answer. Wish I could take your tears and replace them with laughter.
Guys.
Palestine, Gaza. Palestine, Ramallah, West Bank, Gaza. This is for the child that is searching for an answer. Wish I could take your tears and replace them with laughter. Long live Palestine. While we listen to tunes made by ignorant fools, Israel blocked the UN from delivering food. They bring in the troops and you won't even glimpse of the news. They make money off the products that we're quick to consume. And it's not simply a question of differing views. Forget emotions, this is facts to us, spit is the truth. Makes no difference if you're a Christian or if you're a Jew. They're just people living in different conditions to you. They still die when you bomb their schools, mosques and hospitals. It's not because of rockets, please God, can you stop this all? I'm not related to the streets.
Palestine Action Terrorist Group, eh? So, Piccadilly Gardens, guys. Go and have a wander over here.
Remember, it didn't start in this dark December. Every coin is a bullet if you're Marks and Spencer. And when you're sipping Coca-Cola, that's another pistol in the holster of the soulless soldiers. You say you know about the Zionist law. You've got money in your pocket when you're buying their car. Talking about revolution sitting in Starbucks.
Although they're going wrecking our RAF planes, ruining them.
Mate, you put on some muscle there?
I have put a bit on that, yeah.
You know there's a military raid down there?
Alright, is
Got a
it?
cannon then.
Yeah, I might have moved down in a bit. Got a dog there, don't they?
Why do you think little boys are throwing stones and tanks? And we'll never really know how many feed in Zionism. So please don't bring bad vibes when you speak to me. There's plenty of bad vibes that
Old man Palestine.
It's your choice what you do with this message. Don't get it confused. I'm used from a human perspective. How many more resolutions have to be violated? How many more children have to be annihilated? Israel is a devastated terrorist that terrorize. I testify on television, televised and televised.
These are terrorists. Terrorist supporters.
This is for the child that is searching for an answer. Wish I could take your tears and replace them with laughter. Long live Palestine, long live Gaza. Palestine, Ramallah, West Bank, Gaza. This is for the child that is searching for an answer. Wish I could take your tears and replace them with laughter. Long live Palestine, long live Gaza. This is for Palestine, Ramallah, West Bank, Gaza. It's about time you globalize it into father. Listen close, I've got 6 words for
Terrorist scumbags. not going to get in anyone's face, but if they get in mine, then I'm going to tell them. So, see how it goes, innit? Poison dart frog over there somewhere, purple hair. Come on, move. There it is. Poison dart frog. Ah.
People they won't leave. What is threatening about divesting on one piece? The problem isn't the protest, it's what they're protesting. It goes against what our country is funding. Block the barricade until Palestine is free. Block the barricade until Palestine is free. When I was 7, I learned a lesson from Cuban Easy E. What was it again? Oh yeah, fuck the police. Actors and badges, protecting property. And a system that was designed by white supremacy. But the people are in the streets, you can pay off me, you can't pay off me. Politicians who serve by any means, APAC, Kofi, and all the companies. You see me so here, I'm rambling at the free. But this generation here is about to cut the strings. You can ban TikTok, take us out the algorithm, but it's too late. We've seen the truth, we bear witness. Seen the rub on the buildings, the mothers and the children, and all the men that you murdered. And then we see how you spin it. Who gets the right to defend and who gets the right of resistance? It's always been about dollars and the color of your pigment. But white supremacy is finally all glass, screaming free Palestine to their home at last. We see the lies and others claiming it's anti-Semitic to be anti-Zionist. I seen Jewish brothers and sisters out there and riding in solidarity and screaming free Palestine with them organized and colonized alive. It's students in tents posted on the lawn, occupying the quad is really against the law. And a reason to call in the police and their squad where this genocide land in your definition, huh? Destroying every college in Gaza and every mosque, pushing everyone in the rock and dropping bombs. The blood is on your hands, bite them, we can see it all. And fuck no, I'm not voting for you in the fall. Undecided, you can't twist the truth. The people out here united, never be defeated when freedom's on the horizon. Yet the music industry's quiet, complicit in their platform of silence. What happened to the artist? What you gotta say? If I was on the label, you could drop me today. I'll be.
You see the salute off him then?
Palestine, rest in peace to the woman and children in paradise. Palestine, they cut off the water, food, but we never see spirit like. Palestine, thousands under the rubber stool trying to find Madeline. Palestine, God promised the land, so we know one day we'll free Palestine. Terrorists told me who's getting terrorized. Anyone saying it's justified, what a lie, little kids dying and petrified. Terrorists told me who's getting terrorized. Anyone saying it's justified, what a lie, little kids dying and petrified. Real eyes realize, newsflash, nobody's buying your alibis. Biden, CC, Sunak, who's that? Pray to the Lord, but we know you got through act. 1940s, you ran from the Holocaust, only Palestinians came through act. Now it's ethnic cleansing, genocide, tell me how could you do that? If you want peace, then end the apartheid. Muslims don't hate Jews. Like, this news ain't new, don't check the news, you'll finally find the truth. Millions homeless, bombs exploding, media keeps on telling lies. This war didn't start this year, that's lies. It's been going on for 7-5. Dystopia, I'm speechless. How could you let this happen? Them kids that's dying, colourless, lifeless. Could be your kids, it's acting. Father's crying, he lost his wife, and kids got a bomb just crushed in. 2 million suffering, trapped in
1 2 1 2 1 2 1 2.
Welcome everybody. Unfortunately, we're still here and things are getting worse. Can people move forward? I know we've got a guy here who's entertaining us very nicely, but I still need people forward. Thank you. Originally, on Wednesday, it was anti-apartheid day, and we were going to have this demonstration about apartheid, but actually we thought that the situation of starvation and genocide outweighs anything else. So I will be having a comrade arrive, hopefully, from South Africa to talk about it, but I'm concentrating very much on what's happening in Gaza, because we can see that they've totally weaponized the food aid. Over 400 people have been killed just by going to get aid, and that's the UN's figures, that's nobody else's figures. They're just being shot. And the aid, people in Gaza are telling us the only people that are actually given aid are a lot of the gangs that they're using to then bribe to be able to sell the food on the black market and then cause trouble with the population against each other. It's social unrest that they're looking for, to say that it's all their fault. And if you're starving, and it must be a nightmare, yet if you're watching your children starve, and the thousands of children now that are malnourished and ready to die. That's why we're still coming out, because we're watching inhumanity at a scale that we can't even imagine. And the West Bank has been locked down, and the settlers are running rampage. In one of the villages, they set a house on fire with the family in it, and then when people went to rescue the family, the Israeli soldiers shot the people. This is the brutality that people are facing in Palestine. And meanwhile, they're attacking Lebanon, wherever they feel like it. There's supposed to be a truce with Iran, but who knows? It seems to be on the whim of anybody to be able to do anything without any control whatsoever. And then here in Britain, we're facing massive repression. And we know that they're looking to prescribe Palestine action. Now, it's always Labour government. The PTA Act was originally brought in against the Republicans, and it had to be renewed every year. That was the Tories brought that in. And then in 2000, Jack Straw under Labour made it permanent and expanded the definition of what is a terrorist beyond belief. And that's what is happening now. They're using those acts, and every year that Labour are in, they add a few more things. It's just on a whim.
Oh, no problem, mate.
But it's not actually on a whim. We know that the Israelis have got the ear of our parliament. They've got the ear of Starmer. They've got the ear of the Home Secretary. And we know what they're saying. They're in with the Metropolitan Police. And so this is what's driving us. We're being prescribed not because of what we're doing in Britain. It's because Israel don't like the fact that we in the West keep mobilising and marching and protesting. We keep doing that.
Chap's got an Israeli flag in his bag. He said he doesn't know whether to get it out or not.
That we've been doing
Get it out.
and we'll carry on doing that. Palestine Action is part of the movement. And
they're a
very
terrorist
much
group.
been clear that they're targeting an Israeli arms company, Elbit Systems.
Yeah, but you're targeting these fucking aeroplanes.
Now,
What's that all
to
about?
all of us, we absolutely know
You are?
that
You shut up, mate.
the terrorists are the people that are making the arms, dropping the arms, dropping the bombs.
Shut up,
People that are
Spastic.
actually campaigning against them
Shut up, the
are
silly old cunt.
peacemakers. They
off.
don't want these weapons made.
Fucking idiot, mate.
But it's not really even the actions. It's because they want the movement
Destroying our
to
planes.
be
Fucking jokers.
destroyed. And we saw this, those of us that were around and active on Ireland, what happened was they prescribed the Republicans and then whipped up the whole of the population to hate all Irish people. And we were finding ourselves as campaigners forever going to the airport and so on to get somebody that just happened to be
Raising money
Irish
for terrorists.
released
Joke.
because the police forces don't
Joke.
know the difference between the different
Raising
groups
bastard money for
or things
terrorists,
to
man.
do. And neither will the public here know the difference
man.
between what our government call terrorists and somebody that's standing in front of them asking to sign a petition.
Fucking wrong.
Will all be tarnished, and that's
Terrorist
what
group.
they're coming for, the
Fucking
movement.
scumbags.
And the reason they're coming for the movement is because they don't want Palestinians to have a voice. And that's why we're here, because nobody can hear Palestinians because there's a press blockade. We can't see them. They're not on the press. So the only way that their voice gets heard is through us on the streets in our campaigns. And it's us that they'll come for. They are always, I remember the card we got in the war. First of all, they came for the Jews. This is the same. First of all, they came for PA. And they will eventually get to our Congress, who do a fantastic job on consumer boycott. So
I mean,
before he
to be honest
gets
with you, I'm totally like,
prescribed, I just want
I'm not
to
in it with it with
let
like
you
politics.
know
I'm not clued up with it all,
I'm
me.
totally
really,
impartial,
but
like, but I just, you know what I mean?
Come
That's
and
what
just
it's all
give
about.
a
I just
little
don't want it on
update
our streets.
about
It's
all
living
the
in this
action
country. This country's on its
that
fucking
happened last week.
flat
Yeah.
now. This country, it's not even on its knees, is it?
More important issues.
Yeah, too right it is, mate. Yeah, you know. I was on about the place being ruined, and he told me to shut my mouth, so I'm just fucking for it.
Israeli apartheid's going to fall.
I'm
just doing a quick 2-minute one. It's a lot of thank yous. Last weekend,
Yeah, all
there
right.
were 7
Yeah, nice
different
one, mate. I'll look you up. Nice one.
do consumer boycott stalls. And it's really important that we get out and do these actions. I was part of the one in Leamington, we had 17 people there. You end up having loads and loads of conversations with the ordinary people, your neighbours, people who kind of get it but need a bit more persuasion. So I really encourage people to do that. Right now we have another group
Terrorist
actually
group,
being
that's
set
what
up.
it is.
Oldham have got all the materials now. We'll now have 8 groups within Greater Manchester doing consumer boycott stalls. Really important action, right? As consumers, we have choices, and we can choose justice by what we buy or what we don't buy. And we can convince people that supermarkets that are profiting from the genocide in
Hey, Scott.
Gaza,
How you doing, all right?
Are you in support of them?
And they're actually, by the sale, they're actually supporting the
I'm not going to comment on that.
You know what I mean?
I like
You know what I mean? And,
Let's just leave it at that, yeah?
just that cunt told me to shut my mouth before because I was on about the place, so I've just told him to shut his fucking trap.
AGM, about 30 of us attending the AGM to convince
I have a
members
stammer, Scott, you know
I
what
know
I mean?
you do, I know you do.
You know,
It's fine.
You know, that's why I don't really interact with people much as
On
well.
the day,
totally understand.
29,000 people voted.
You know, we've
I
always
mean, I
got
don't want to make myself look a cunt and all that, you know what I mean?
Put under great pressure.
I've got
What's
son-in-law
really, really
that's
important
he's got stammer too.
is to make
Yeah, I've had it for years, you know, man. Since I was a kid, mate, I've had it. Yeah,
Did you have
true,
like a
man.
thingy for it or not?
to get
It
people
must be
to
so
write to the
No,
board.
fuck all,
It's
Scott.
like having a fix, isn't it? You can't just roll it.
It's got a lot better since I was a kid, like. I like a fucking machine gun when I was a kid.
Did you go work when you're like a bit angry?
Yeah.
When the adrenaline goes?
Or if I'm on phone.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah.
I have to hang the phone up. All right, Scott.
Listen,
Yeah, my buzzing,
look
mate.
after yourself.
Yeah,
People are angry on our side and a lot
Yeah,
of them are
man.
grieving and stuff
Yeah,
like that.
buzzing,
So
Scott.
reactions both ways are like really
Yeah, man.
touchy at the moment.
Yeah,
You know that.
sweet. Yeah,
You know, and I know
sorry.
everyone has belief systems. You have your own and I have mine.
Yeah,
I respect
no.
you.
And you, Scott, mate. Yeah, nice one.
How delighted you are, because they're going to get a lot of
Don't mind,
stick
Scott.
from these Zionist groups. We need to tell them they've done the right
Some of
thing
these
and that
scumbags.
we will support them. So thanks very much for all your actions.
Do me a favour though, if anyone comes over to
Thank you.
All right, pal.
you know
Yeah,
when
yeah.
he likes to scare, I'm just going to tell you who you are.
Yeah. All right, pal. Yeah, nice one.
And so he certainly
him fuck
did that.
off.
Thank you.
I'll tell him fuck off.
Our next
There you are.
speaker will be talking about
go on, fella.
Palestine.
I just want you for one moment to just take a look around you. Just look at all the abundance that surrounds us. Food, drink, clothes, leisure. For us, life is reduced to a set of the most banal choices. What breakfast to eat, what clothes to wear, what to do with your free time on a pleasant Saturday afternoon. For the Palestinian in Gaza, the only choices are existential. To either let your family starve or to risk your own life for a sack of flour, knowing that the only bag that you might end up filling is not the sack that you set out with, but one for your own corpse itself. Reem al-Akhras, I want you to remember that name. A mother of seven children.
Look at them all.
At the start of this month, she left behind those children in the hopes of bringing them some bread. From the so-called Gaza Humanitarian Foundation, the most Orwellian name imaginable.
Angry racist.
She returned
mob.
in a white shroud, having been shot in the head in yet another
Terrorist.
Zionist aid massacre that killed at least 27 people. To a world that is utterly unmoved, her children go down as mere statistics to the estimated more than 40,000 child orphans now in Gaza. As the world turned its scant attention from their enforced starvation, distracted by yet another Anglo-Zionist aggression in the region, the cogs of the first ever televised genocide kept on spinning without disruption or without delay. The veteran emergency responder, Mohammed Ghurab, was targeted in his home and killed alongside his son to add to the more than 15% of the Gaza civil defence, those emergency rescuers that tried desperately, despite a blockade that denies them the entry of the tractors and the other industrial equipment that they so desperately need to rescue those children that you hear screaming from the rubble. More than 15% of them wiped out, and yet another one targeted in his home alongside his son. The journalist Amin Fathi Hamdan, his wife Diana, and his two daughters, Yuri, age 10, and Julia, 18 months of age, were killed by a Zionist strike against their tent, adding to the unprecedented toll of murdered journalists that we've seen during this genocide. Not just journalists, but their entire families being wiped out in cold blood. Hassan Barbah, I know you've seen the footage, the images of emaciated children. This was a baby who was 3 years of age, who weighed less than a baby of 3 months of age, who was killed this month because his body was denied the formula that he was screaming out for. And more than 500 Palestinians have been killed on the way to collect aid from the so-called Gaza Humanitarian Foundation. More than 4,000 have been injured in a society that's already crippled by the highest number of child amputees anywhere in the world. And yet, what are the choices out there that the Palestinian faces? Like sardines, they're packed into cages under the beating sun for the most meagre provision. To the Zionists, they are nothing but the embodiment of a human animal. So what genocide can function without total and complete dehumanization? And as far as dehumanization goes, not a day passes by without some form of ritual humiliation that teaches you to expect nothing, to never raise your head beyond a pot of tasteless food or a jug of dirty water, conditioning you to accept suffering as routine, all as a prelude to death itself. It's a dehumanization that etches itself onto every single fibre in society, that forces you into a dogfight with your own countrymen and countrywomen just to secure a morsel of flour, that drives you to wander aimlessly from dawn until dusk because you don't want to cram and take up space in the tiny tent or the bomb-light home that your family is residing in which children are born into an abyss of hunger and death, queuing in bread lines instead of lining up for class, where they're children in name only, the responsibilities of adulthood cornering them before they can even read. And yet, despite it all, as far as this country is concerned, the terrorists aren't those that are systematically starving the population with the open intention of annihilating them. The terrorists aren't the ones that are starving people just to drive them into killing fields and execute them in their hunger and in their thirst. The terrorists aren't the ones that are inflicting a genocide, but according to our government, the weight of the state comes crashing down onto those people with a conscience who cannot bear to see the emaciated footage of babies anymore, who hear the piercing screams of starving infants and who cannot live with the complicity that's all around them. Like those arms factories, like the one that stood in Oldham until it was brought crashing down, or the ones that are still peddling death and destruction around the country. Just a short way away from here, in Lancashire, BAE Systems, Albert Systems, all of them still pumping out weapons of death and destruction without any delay. Companies like Allianz Insurance that are keeping the wheels of genocide spinning day in, day out, and a propagandistic media apparatus that dehumanizes them from afar. And for nearly 2 years now, people have been questioning what is the point of mobilization, what is the point of coming out into the streets and taking all this action, sacrificing our time. But I think we've seen the answer, that if all of this was pointless, then the state would not have felt the need to intervene on behalf of a dependent foreign state that's thousands of miles away. If this was all pointless and ineffective, as my colleague mentioned just earlier, companies like the Co-op wouldn't have divested from the settler colony as they did this week, adding to the scores of victories against the likes of Barclays, AXA Insurance, IO Associates, Fisher German, Kuhn and Nagel, and so many others who were forced to make a choice because of free people mobilizing up and down this country. I'm not going to keep you for too much longer. I just want to leave you with one message. If you're disgusted, continue to be disgusted by what you're seeing, what your taxpayer money is funding on a daily basis. What are the choices that are confronting you? Because for us, it's not humiliation or death. For us, the choices are clear as day. It's either resistance or your own humanity, because what we're seeing is the destruction of an entire people, and we are going to be held accountable for what we did or didn't do on one day. And so our duty is clear as day, is to resist for a people that are fighting to exist. So I want you to repeat with me and say it as loud as you can from the top of your voice. It's a duty to resist.
It's a duty to resist.
When you're fighting to exist.
When you're fighting to exist.
It's a duty to resist.
It's a duty to resist.
When you're fighting to exist.
When you're fighting to exist.
Resistance is justified.
Justified.
When people are occupied.
Not like the camera.
Resistance is justified.
Terrorist.
Justified.
When people are occupied. Free, free.
Palestine.
Free, free.
Palestine.
Thank you. Everyone here who supports Palestine and against the prescription of any part of our movement,
I don't. I support
we're
fucking Britain.
showing a film that was made about Palestine action that is now was going into mainstream cinemas and into film competitions and so on. But now, with the threat of prescription, they want people to see it before it's illegal for us even to be watching it. So everyone here who's supporting Palestine is invited to that film showing. This march will be going from here to here.
There's my man.
Where we'll be showing
Look at that
the film.
chap.
So I hope as many of you as can will come. I also want to say that the reason they march through the streets is to get our message across, and people do very well,
Good on you, pal.
especially our comrades that are making the flour. It's talking about starvation, so they'll be walking with the flour bags, and hopefully when we pass
this
the
chap.
armed forces,
Don't
they
give a
don't
fuck.
get mowed down. Because that's what's happening to any Palestinian in Gaza that's carrying a flour bag. No, it's okay. I also want people to volunteer if they can to carry the BDS letters, because all of this gives messages out of there. And now, if you see my t-shirt, it's from South Africa, from comrades in South Africa. And let us remember that Nelson Mandela was once a terrorist in this country. So, maybe the people who set up PA will eventually become Prime Minister and Home Secretary. I'd like to introduce a great comrade of ours from South Africa, Tony, who will talk about apartheid there.
Good afternoon, everybody, and it's great to see so many people out here. And I'm going to go through a few things, and some of it may be familiar to you, some you may not know. The system of apartheid, introduced by a man called Hendrik Verwoerd around about 1948, meant separate development. What an interesting euphemistic term. It goes along with things like collateral damage. Sounds quite harmless, doesn't it? But separate development actually meant ethnic cleansing. It meant differential schooling. Verwoerd said that the African child must never have the dream of equaling the white man. It was simple, it was honest, it was straight. And of course, it was resisted. It was resisted at Sharpeville in 1960 when 61 unarmed, peaceful demonstrators were shot down, leading to the formation of the armed wing of the ANC when they realised that passive resistance was not enough against this monster. I'll give you a little example of what happens when you resist, and you may not know this. I apologise for once reading from the phone, because you know I don't usually do this. On the night of 27th of June 1985, 4 black men were travelling in a car from the southeastern city of Port Elizabeth, now named Gagoba, to Craddock. And on the way, they were detained, they were kidnapped. They were teachers, Forkalata, Matthew Gongira, school principal, Sikole Bulale, and railway workers, Sparka Makonto. They had been working as community activists in PE to organise the community to stand for their rights. They were later found in various parts of the countryside, having been tortured and killed. And the horrible thing is, nobody was ever prosecuted for this. The people who did it turned up at the Truth and Reconciliation Committee, and basically they were not given immunity, refused to speak. And the hunt is still on for the people who ordered this. And I also read Cecilia Malali's wife, who's now 73. She said that when she received his body,
I love Donald
he had
Trump.
7 gashes.
I love Donald Trump.
Across his chest, 25 stab wounds. Sorry, 7 gashes across his back, so 25 stab wounds.
I really do.
He was focused like
Donald Trump is the man.
So these are the consequences of resistance. And what did we do? What did we do? In South Africa, they instituted the boycott. The 1972 Olympic Games went ahead with no
the fucking drummers.
The Commonwealth Games, which in 1986 in Glasgow was completely ruined, but the Africans refused to go because of sporting tours to South Africa by white teams trying to break the Egypt agreement, which meant no sporting contact for South Africa. And the argument was always the same. You don't want to bring sporting politics. Yeah, tell that to the poor people in Soweto playing the dirt pitch who will never have their dreams. Tell it to the Palestinians who were mowed down, whose dreams of football are great.
Yes, Ben. How are you doing, pal? Yeah, you got. I've seen you for a while. You all right? Yeah, good, man. Nice to see you, Ben, lad. Manchester Explorer back out. I've seen him for a while. These fucking scumbags. That's what they are. Scummy arses.
We had the music, we had the culture. The Bullers had
Old man Palestine.
very similar situation with the Zionists. Who wants to listen to their music? Who wants to listen to their song? So it carried on. And the ethnic cleansing all talked about the
Poison dart frog. Look at that. Ha.
And there's a great map of different cities it was. There's one was a mixed area. And then the areas that came in. And it was ethnically cleansed. The people were forced onto the beach. No one was the safest place on earth. And my friend stood on the back of the corner where she actually used to live. Can you imagine that? Can you imagine now? People wait minutes, people live all of a sudden somebody come on there and say, you can't go there anymore. You move it, you can go there. And all you have 30 years later is a man to stand on the place. Does it remind you of anything? Sorry? Suddenly being told you can't go there anymore. Suddenly being told that a different ethnic group has the right to your home where you've lived for generations. Does it remind you of anything? Yes or no? We all know apartheid is and apartheid was. In 1987, a nuclear bomb was tested off the coast of Durban. And it was tested by the apartheid South African government with the aid of the Zionist Israeli government. And for that reason, South Africa, the ANC, the Pan-Africanists, the coloured groups, the Indian workers, have all stood with Palestine. They've stood with them forever. Trump thinks he can blackmail and bully the South Africans into backing off. He can forget it. It ain't gonna happen. It ain't gonna happen ever, never. I've been assured by this. No one, nothing in this world will make South Africa betray their Palestinian comrades. So if you don't believe it, you can put it in your poker, you can smoke it. And we want to see the same thing everywhere, aren't we?
Fuck off.
In South Africa, I've told them about the way